Wherever life can take root and flourish, it will thrive and prosper. No matter how small, given the opportunity, life will come. Life will grow. It always finds a way in. What is this weird comic? Is it true when they say it is haunted? It's about as weird as you might expect, but it's no comic. It's bait. But more than anything, it looks like a job for Nyx, Uotan, and Stubbs, protectors and investigators of the multiverse. They only have hours before this strange comic is published throughout the multiverse, so they head to the origin of this issue, Earth 7. You can keep watching this video if you want. The choice is yours, but just know, they command it. There's a force out there watching you, wanting you to continue. Stubb wonders if it's weird to be using comic books like this, and Nyx says that's a good question. But does any of this look normal to you? Something terrible has happened to Earth 7. The laws of physics have been disabled, snapped and shattered. The heroes of this world are all dead, except for one. His name is the Thunderer, and he has a dire warning for Nyx and Stubbs. Run for your lives. The Gentry are here.
We are the Gentry. Have we your attention now, little super god?
Stubbs tells Nyx they have to go now, but Nyx demands an explanation. Who are these people? What do they want?
We want you. We want you to give up your dreams. We want you to abandon all hope. We want to make you like us.
The final hero of Earth 7 tells Nyx that these beings seek the end of everything. Nyx knows that as the last monitor of the multiverse, it is his duty to deal with threats like this. So he sends the Thunderer to his ship, the Thule. It will take the injured hero back to the House of Heroes, the Multiversity. From there, they can summon heroes from the 50 other worlds. The Thunderer is reluctant, but Nyx pushes him. This is their only hope. As the Thunderer flees, the Gentry quickly trap the Monitor, and begin folding him into space itself. They surround him, and there are many members. They are called Dame Merciless, Hell Machine, Lord Broken, Demogorgon, and Intellectron. There is no release from this moment. Nyx may die again and again, but the Gentry have an anti-death equation to return him to this state endlessly. They will rejoice in anguish together. Nyx insists he will get out of this. The Gentry only demand that he choose his weapon. Earth 23. Today, this world's Superman is fighting a giant robot of unknown origin. He makes short work of it, but as President of the United States of America, he's got a busy schedule to keep and can't stick around for the cleanup. Flying back to Air Force One, he returns to the job as president, his brief absence unnoticed by his staff. Later, he meets up with this world's Justice League. The robot that attacked is strange, with a system that seems to degrade due to the laws of physics. This tells them that the robot likely didn't come from this Earth. Steel guesses that this robot was a probe from a parallel universe, on a world with different rules where the robot would have functioned normally. Supporting this theory was the robot's target, Lex Luthor's cube, a drug-fueled attempt by the mad scientist to build a gateway to another world. The machine demonstrated no signs of life until today. Perhaps there was more to this cube than the League thought, when suddenly it lights up and Superman disappears. This is the Multiversity. Superman appears here bewildered. He is greeted by Captain Carrot, who recognizes him from another encounter. This Superman, however, does not remember any such encounter. Carrot says he must be thinking of a different Superman. He only recognizes humans by their costume color. They're so tough to tell apart otherwise, and in the multiverse, there are always so many versions of them. Superman wants to go back home, but the trip was one way. They've all tried to return to their home worlds with no luck. These cubes have activated throughout the multiverse ever since the Thunderer sounded the alarm. Like Superman, Captain Carrot was pulled in here after a villain built a similar cube in his world. He said the idea for the cube actually came from a comic book, while Luthor of Superman's world said he saw his machine in a drug-induced hallucination. Captain Carrot and the others haven't figured out why they were brought here against their will, and by now, there are heroes from just about every world. Superman is recognized by many in the Multiversity, though quite a few of him know him only as a comic book character. The Thunderer sounded the alarm and started all of this, but he had no idea this was going to happen. The hero explains how all he knows really is that his home, Earth 7, was destroyed by demons who are attacking all of reality. Everyone is in danger. Superman decides to try and get this facility's systems up and running, thinking correctly that a facility this sophisticated probably has a computer to run it. He has his Kryptonian AI, Brainiac, interface with this station. A face appears with a warning. If they are seeing this, the last monitor, Nix Uotan, is dead. The threat to reality is absolute. The multiverse itself must be protected at all costs. The system introduces itself as Harbinger. It doesn't know how long it has been gone, but it is alarmed that the monitors seem to have vanished. There is a menace out there, and without the monitors, there is nobody to stop it. Harbinger knows what must be done. It greets the heroes and welcomes them to Monitor Station Infinity, Valhalla, the Multiversity. The heroes ask why they are here, and it explains that the threat must be brought to an end. The lives at stake are countless. The corruption of the Orrery of Worlds is underway. Whole universes are under attack. There's something else going on of interest. Red Racer introduces himself as a hero of Earth 36. He's a big comic book fan and knows Superman from the comics of his world. Yet there are comics at the Multiversity from other worlds that depict Red Racer himself. It seems that one world's reality is another world's fiction. Captain Carrot realizes this will be a valuable asset for the team, serving as a messaging system for neighboring universes. The heroes agree to investigate this further, starting with Earth 7, where all of this started. Aquawoman of Earth 11 volunteers to join a war party to investigate this, but Superman prefers to think of it as more of a fact-finding mission. Aquawoman scoffs at this, thinking that this approach is naive. Just the same, they agree to head out. The Thunderer takes them to the Ultima Thule, Nix's vessel, which brought him here, and will take the group to the other worlds. The heroes muse on the nature of this ship. It's not ordinary by any means. Superman swears he's seen it in dreams before, while Aquawoman only calls it frozen music. There's something beautiful about it. Red Racer is stopped before he can go on the ship by fellow Justice 9 member Hank, also known as Power Torch. Hank is worried. They've already lost Optiman to Super Doomsday, and he doesn't want to lose Red too. The Racer tells him they're going to need his help and his comic book expertise, promising that he'll be fine. On board the ship, Red can see the vibrations from all 52 known worlds within this vessel, singing in concert with one another. They realize it's a ship powered by the vibrations of these sounds, as if it were all a song. Superman can even hear this music. So sad, yet so brave. The song of the multiverse. And all they have to do is play along and alter the pitch just a tiny little bit. They move in between worlds, seeing strange things when the Multiversity is suddenly attacked. As the home base prepares for a fight, the Thule manages to escape and arrive on Earth. Losing contact with the Multiversity, the heroes decide to continue this mission just the same. Outside, the Thunderer knows instantly this is not Earth 7. Superman realizes he wasn't able to go that far. The ship could only take them to the closest Earth, Earth 8. The heroes of this new world aren't exactly thrilled that the Thunderer just knocked one of their friends out. These Earth 8 heroes call themselves the Retaliators, and assume that these visitors are working for their enemy, Lord Havoc. Superman tries to explain what is going on here, but fails to convince anyone. The Retaliators don't want to talk. They want to smash! Luckily for Captain Carrot, cartoon physics are flexible, and he knocks his opponent down. As Captain Carrot challenges the others, Superman swears they're just here to help, and that their universe is in danger. Elsewhere, Lord Havoc stands before his greatest enemy, future Frank. With Frank's friends taken down, the scientist tries to stop the villain, begging him to end this madness, but Frank falls to Havoc's mighty power. Lord Havoc gloats at his victory and embraces something he calls the Genesis Egg, which he believes will give him eternal power. As the other heroes arrive, it is too late. Future Frank apologizes. He tried. Lord Havoc screams in pain. He saw their faces. He bleeds on the egg. Lord Havoc falls dead, while the Thunderer suddenly realizes that Nyx is stuck in this egg. As it begins glowing, he strikes out, in spite of Superman's protest. The egg hatches. I gave my all. I fought and suffered for an eternity. Countless years of agony for you? Well, it's time for a new game. My name is Nyx Uotan. Kneel before the Super Judge, the Judge of Worlds. He lost his given name in the Neolithic era, but in 1912 a professor called him Anthrop. That name stuck for a while, but whatever you call him, it all really means the same thing. The immortal man, at your service. Today he's visiting another hero of this world named Dr. Fate. He's greeted by the other heroes of this world, the mighty Atom and the formidable Blackhawks. Dr. Fate appears, ordering the Atom to put down a comic book he was idly reading. Fate apologizes, but many things in this room are dangerous artifacts. That comic might be the most dangerous of them all. Some say it is haunted, or even cursed. Suddenly, an alien appears before the heroes, but Dr. Fate tells them to remain calm and introduces this strange being as Abin Sur. This is a Green Lantern, protector of the universe, and he needs help with a new threat. His superiors, the Guardians, have detected activity from a parallel Earth. This other world moves in concert with theirs, existing in another dimension in a delicate balance with this one. It's a counter-Earth of sorts, but something seems to be happening. The barrier between these worlds is weakening, and the heroes are worried it could mean catastrophe for both worlds. The only thing they can do is stand together in the face of this unprecedented threat, as a society of superheroes. It sounded great at the time. They had no idea what was to come. A man from this other world, named Vandal Savage, used this weakened barrier as a means to invade the society's Earth. Already weary from a world war, the USA quickly fell to Savage. That was 5 years ago. The war has been long and arduous. It's hard to even tell which side is winning or losing anymore. At Dr. Fate's headquarters, the mighty Atom suddenly bursts in. He announces Abin Sur is dead, while the Atom, real name Al, confesses he burnt his face after finally looking at that damn comic. Fate helps his friend, and Al says he can now feel the vibrations of every world from the multiverse. The good doctor is consoling, pointing out that Al just survived something few others do. The veil has fallen, and he sees the world as it really is. Fate treats Adam while he explains that the helmet he wears is wired to the old collective mind of the Monitors. His helmet sometimes speaks in whispers of Novu, the Proto-Monitor. Fate has used this to learn that the Monitors died, and something has come to fill the void they have left. The last survivor of the Monitors, Novu's son, Nyx, sacrificed himself to protect all of mankind. But it wasn't enough. Fate knows that Al won't die here, as he's one of the Uotan's children. He's a super... Blockbuster breaks his way into Fate's headquarters, vowing to kill the mighty Atom, just like he promised Vandal Savage. Feeling better, Al gets up and begins to battle Blockbuster in order to buy Dr. Fate some time. The good doctor goes to activate a machine he's been working on, an interdimensional portal called the Gate of Fate. Outside of Fate's headquarters, Vandal Savage moves in. Fate is finally exposed, and Savage is ready and eager to strike. The good doctor is said to be building an escape out of this world, but that will soon belong to Vandal. He tires of this Earth and is ready to raise another one. The Blackhawks of the Society of Superheroes fly in and attack Savage's forces. Savage's right-hand woman, Lady Shiva, is eager for an opportunity to cook these girls alive within their own cockpits and eat their seared flesh. Meanwhile, Savage has Felix Faust and his Necromen parachute into Fate's facility, and they begin working their way inside. Fate greets Felix and promptly kicks him in the balls, while Adam is forced to kill Blockbuster in self-defense. In all this time, Al has never had to do that, but the Atom had no choice, and at the very least, it bought them a little more time. With Felix down, Fate begins interrogating him until the foul magician calls out for some help. Parallax. Lady Blackhawk, having survived her plane being shot down, is attacked by Shiva on the ground in a crocodile-filled swamp. Shiva is ultimately forced in the water after she is momentarily distracted by a reflection off of Blackhawk's necklace. Elsewhere, the Immortal Man has been working stealthily towards his target, Vandal Savage. Shiva manages to kill the crocodiles and escape, only for the Blackhawks to regroup and shoot the evil woman dead. Meanwhile, Parallax attacks the two heroes. They escape through the gate, and Fate protects them with a magical shield. They've sacrificed everything for this chance. They might not live through it, but it will be worth it if they can warn the other worlds. He activates the cube, but it fails. They don't have enough power, and without more energy, there is no hope. Parallax makes his way into the gate, when suddenly, they hear a voice. In brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power, Green Lantern's light! Adam is shocked, having watched Abin Sur die earlier, but the alien says Al was mistaken. Parallax has been contained. Better yet, the being has ample power to activate the Gate of Fate. Dr. Fate volunteers to go through, but Abin says he will do so instead. The Guardians have confirmed a full-scale cosmic invasion is in progress across the entire multiverse. The Green Lantern has been assigned to pursue it to its source. Outside, the Immortal Man ambushes Vandal Savage and mortally wounds him. However, the Mad Tyrant is only pleased at this. This was his plan all along. One way or another, Anther or Savage would have spilled immortal blood on these grounds, summoning a destroyer of worlds. Better yet, Vandal managed to turn the entire society of superheroes into killers. He wins. Vandal Savage always wins. For a moment, the Immortal Man really thought it was all over. The 5-year war was a nightmare about to come to an end. How could anyone have known it was a prelude to something far worse, far bigger, stranger, and more frightening? A nearby statue called the Idol of Nichrutan rises and begins to speak. You need to know. Doom comes for your world too. Tell your superheroes, and if you don't have them, well, may God have mercy on your soul. The Immortal Man calls out to his friends, who don't answer. SOS. SOS. In Malibu, California, Sister Miracle is on the phone with her friend, Metamorpho. Miracle, real name Sasha Norman, is worried about a techno-organic infection she got in space, yet apparently, she could easily kill the virus instantly with feelings of intense sadness. It's a shame, really. It's hard to never feel real despair, and nobody quite suffers as much as her because of it. She has the atom swimming around in her bloodstream, destroying the virus manually, although Sasha isn't pleased about any of this. Metamorpho replies that maybe she can help. Her friend proclaims they are all doomed. There's nothing they can do about it, and everything else is just a big f***ing joke on them. She wonders if a superhero has ever committed suicide. Sasha replies she doesn't think so, but this talk really worries her. It's not like her friend at all. Metamorpho states this means she will be the first. Cool. Inside Sasha's body, the atom is confused. The techno-organic virus just died, all at once. In Gotham City, Alexis Luthor is hanging out with her boyfriend, Damian Wayne. She remarks at a supposedly haunted comic, amused at the notion Damian really thinks this constitutes actual art. But Batman of this world has other concerns. There are invaders from another world attacking. Luthor finds this all terribly boring, though. Superman's robots have it handled, like they always do. Watching for a while, Damian admits his girlfriend is right. He should have expected that. Alexis is never wrong. Damian admits that he likes her, compelled by her sick and twisted ways. As they are about to have sex, they detect the arrival of Superman, the real Superman, and they are confused at his presence here. Batman is surprised to see his old friend, as he thought the hero was out in space. Superman, a young man named Chris and son of the original Superman, needs Batman's help, informing Damian of Metamorpho's suicide. Damian is dismissive. Superman's dad's robots will handle it, like they do everything in this world. Chris points out that she was one of them. He's also annoyed with Damian's brusque behavior, claiming that it's not his fault his dad left behind one of the most sophisticated planetary defensive systems ever created. It's not his fault it put everybody out of work. The super robots can't be turned off or tampered with, and even if he could do that, Superman doesn't want to break his promise to his father. Chris also isn't happy to see evidence that Damian has been spending time with Alexis. Her dad is the reason his dad is gone, and he wants Batman to take this superhero thing more seriously. Batman claims he'd take it seriously if any of them had anything meaningful to do, but thanks to the robots, there's no crime to fight. There's no challenge in a utopia. He tells Superman that Metamorpho committed suicide because she was bored, like everyone else. Chris takes off, not wanting to hear this. Later, Alexis is furious. She was banned from Sasha's party, and now Damian wants to take off to investigate this suicide instead of going to an art gallery opening with her. Worse still, Superman and the rest of the superhero community totally loathe Alexis for the crimes her father committed. She feels persecuted, alone, and unfairly hated. Damian insists she's better than such petty squabbles, but Luthor only insists she will get even with all of them. In California, Sasha lets the atom out of her body. Her grief has cured her, but it seems like she's gotten over her friend's death rather quickly. She gets a call from Damian and insists that he and Superman better show up for her party or it will be mass suicide. That rather tasteless comment aside, Damian asks to talk with Adam, but more than anything else, the shrinking hero really just wants an invitation to Sasha's big party. Elsewhere, Kyle Rayner is reading a comic. He is the last Green Lantern in this universe, but even he doesn't have much to do these days. The comic is interesting though, and he can't help but remark on how good the art is getting these days. He's with Metamorpho's boyfriend Offspring, who still is apparently in some sort of shock or denial. Offspring focuses only on how upset he is that the Retaliators were recently killed off in a crossover genocide after some sort of space demon wiped them all out in the last issue. The Green Lantern is then approached by Superman, and together the two meet with this world's Justice League. The team doesn't find much of note in Metamorpho's apartment. No suicide note, or any immediate evidence of depression. The League remarks on how much things have changed. When they were kids, they found villains terrifying. Now their children are going on playdates together. Elsewhere, at the art gallery opening, Alexis and her friend Harlequin look over Con-El, the last surviving Superman clone, doomed to suffer the same deterioration as the others have. It's a shame. Meanwhile, the Justice League has taken to one of their more important hobbies, recreating legendary battles of the past. With little else to do, this is a great way for the heroes to blow off some steam and stay in shape. They are doing battle with Red Amazo, a killer android of the past. However, something quickly goes wrong, and the robot begins doing things differently than the battle they are recreating. As it begins knocking the heroes around, doing real damage, Kyle gets confused and starts shouting at Major Force, who isn't there. He cries out that nobody dies anymore, knocking the robot down, but seriously worrying the others. Steel remarks that this shouldn't have been possible. Somebody has tampered with Red Amazo. Kyle is okay, but shaken up. He remembers how his girlfriend was chopped up by Major Force and left in a refrigerator for an unwary Kyle to find. Reading those comics earlier today brought all those bad memories back, as if something crawled into his head. Something bad. While the rest of the Justice League decides which battle to recreate next, Steel remarks that it just isn't the same as fighting real evil. But they need to keep fit. They need to be ready. Who knows when they'll be needed next. Back in Metropolis, Damien is questioning Offspring, who still doesn't seem all that upset. He's tired of people questioning him though, including Superman, Kyle, and the cops, but Offspring doesn't seem to be experiencing any grief, more concerned with the video game he's playing. He insists he's not worried. Metamorpho will come back. She can turn into gas you can't even see or smell. She always comes back. But Batman says she's gone. She read a comic book and killed herself. Something is terribly wrong, and Damien insists on learning more. Offspring gives Damien the comic in question, the one Metamorpho read before she died, Society of Superheroes #1. Batman asks about the other comic, the cursed one, something called Ultra Comics, until he has the disturbing thought. Elsewhere, Superman is busy questioning a young woman named Menta, who inherited a telepathic helmet from her dad. She just scanned for traces of Metamorpho. Instead, she encountered something else, something terrifying called the Gentry. They frightened her, but being around Superman makes her feel brave, and she's willing to try it again. He says he'll let her know if he needs her help. Inspection of Metamorpho's body does not reveal any pertinent information, but Batman arrives and says he has to show Superman something. During this time, the Green Arrow meets with his daughter, Arrowette. She wants to start her own super team with her friend Menta called the Just. He finds this ludicrous, as Arrowette never trains or has ever even been in a real fight. His arrows never made him a superhero. Training, determination, and strength did. And his daughter has none of that. Besides, crime is a thing of the past. He doesn't want her to treat this all as some sort of game, and he refuses to give her some of his arrows. Arrowette finds this terribly unfair and begins to pout. Batman shows Superman the comics, but Chris doesn't think much of them. He uses his superior vision to determine that the comics are of standard chemical composition, just like any other typical comic book. But that's not what Batman is interested in. It's the content. He asks Chris to imagine a life form that disguises itself as a story, a set of deadly, hypnotic inductions. The comic itself claims to be a warning from another universe, but Damien thinks that's only part of the story. Batman looked into it, and it claims to be published from a place called Fawcett City, which doesn't exist. Other similar comics have other publication locations, but only one of them has a real address, at least in this world. Damien believes the comics actually came from other worlds, other Earths. Worse still, the comics seem to be infecting the people that read them. These strange books seem to be able to find a world, corrupt its readers, and by the time they realize what is happening, it is too late. Knowing that Alexis read one of these comic books, Batman and Superman race off to find her. They are disturbed to see that Superman's robots have started following Chris, who says something must have put them in bodyguard mode. Superman insists Alexis is trouble and has a feeling this all has something to do with Sasha's party. Suddenly, he is knocked down by his own robot. Alexis appears, saying that she is working with her ex, Jakeem Thunder. They were the ones that made the Red Amazo android malfunction, and now they use that little experiment to perfect a technique to take control of the Superman robots. Batman can't believe she would do this after he just defended her. He wouldn't have gone to that stupid party without Alexis anyways. He hates parties. Alexis replies that she hates parties too, and is about to show the world just how much. They really should have invited her to the party. Now, they're gate crashing. In Malibu, the party begins. Arrowette hears from Menta that Metamorpho killed herself after Alexis infected her with some sort of death curse, and now the world is apparently going to be invaded by some sort of alternate reality. That's awesome! She'll get to use her arrows after all. Sasha finds it all interesting, but knows Superman's robots will handle it like they always do. She wonders where Superman and Batman went off to anyways, and then muses on the nature of parallel worlds. She wonders what her alternate counterpart would be like. Meanwhile, the Superman robots begin their rampage. It just doesn't make sense. They've played the tape 1,000 times and nobody understands. His name is Christopher Smith. He's this world's peacemaker, and he just killed the president. The world is still reeling from the whole affair. Nightshade is informed that the days of the Pax Institute are over. The world can't handle superheroes anymore. There was a time when the heroes were simple and strong, something great for a troubled world to believe in. Those days are over. With Captain Atom missing in action and Peacemaker a killer, America's Supermen seem like a distant memory already. Before this, two vigilantes called the Question and the Bug were investigating something called the Yellow Jacket case. 4 prominent scientists were all murdered. The Bug thinks that the Question is just being unreasonable, but the detective insists something is going on here. Nevertheless, the hero wants nothing to do with the clearly unstable vigilante, but the Question was prepared for some pushback. He activates a magnetic crane, trapping the Bug. The Question insists that the Bug, Ted Cord, is in over his head and takes his leave, saying he'll find answers on his own. At one point, the Question fought with Nightshade. Quickly escaping, he asks her to think about things, and who might be pulling the strings in this massive game of politics and entertainment. The Question begins digging deeper, looking into the death of a woman named Nora. Her skull was caved in, but she fought against her attacker. The Question continued his investigation. Before this, Captain Atom read the Ultra comic, musing on the dimensional physics happening within the pages of this strange book. He was with a group of nervous scientists who were conducting a particle acceleration experiment with the godly superhero. He doesn't pay them much attention though, still focused on the comic. The story is linear, yet you can pass through the pages in any order, moving forward and backward in time. You can jump to the ending. Past, present, future. Time and tense are irrelevant. The characters remain unaware of his observation, their thoughts exposed to him in weightless little clouds. This is how a two-dimensional existence looks like to you. Imagine how the 3D world appears to him. Atom can see your back pages, your future, and your origins. He knows your secret identity, your thoughts, and your plans. The scientists panic and realize Atom knows what they are trying to do. They activate the machine, and Atom vanishes. A stranger approaches the scientists and killed them all. The trail was covered. The plan continued without interruption. The Question found a source who claimed not to know much, but after being nearly crushed to death, he revealed that the rumor is someone has a secret plan to kill Captain Atom. The man begs for help, but the Question's a card-carrying superhero. He doesn't save the bad guys. They were all part of a team once. The Justice League of America, Pax Americana, Warriors of Peace. Commanded by Captain Atom, who was kept sedated and contained at a reasonable power level, this is where he was just moments ago. Or was it the future? Or the past? It doesn't matter. He was found in a park. Officials weren't sure what to do with Atom, so they tried reuniting the man with his old dog. Atom is unstable, you see, having turned most of the park visitors into stone upon his arrival here. Looking over his dog, he takes the poor animal apart with his mind. The president, or at least the man who will soon be president, approaches Atom and is alarmed at this. Atom explains that he had to take a closer look. He thought the pieces would explain the whole. He was looking for the source of a feeling he had for this animal, and then he realized he just killed Butch, his faithful little dog. He really thinks he needs to up his medication. Atom just wants to go back to normal. He doesn't understand what is happening to him. Governor Harley, the next president of the United States, at least until the Peacemaker assassinates him, walks with Atom. Harley says that life is full of contradiction, but he believes he's found the ultimate explanation and solution for everything in the world, the Yellow Jacket case. He used this information to rise to power and earn tremendous wealth. He believes that civilization is heading for a grim end, and knows the Atom can see the future. Atom sees everything. He knows people will want to kill him, and that they aren't able to, yet. Harley knows how to save the world, but without Atom, the plan is impossible. Together, however, they'll be able to fix everything. And so it was. Harley engineered the end of the superheroes through his own assassination, just for the sake of world peace. It actually all started long ago with a superhero called the Yellow Jacket. One night, when returning home to his costume, his son was alarmed and shot him. That son grew up to be Governor Harley. Inspired by Captain Atom, who visited him back in time and paradoxically informed Harley of his own plan, he spent his whole life orchestrating his own death. That is how peace was brought to this world. And it was good. The Rock of Eternity, home to the wizard Shazam. From here he can look down on all of creation with his eyes peeled for trouble. Today is different though. There's a day on the cosmic calendar he's never seen before. What's a Savannah Day? Suddenly the rock is attacked by a second Rock of Eternity. It is operated by Dr. Savanas, who has traced the magic of Captain Marvel to this location. Using his children, he is able to duplicate the powers of Shazam and bestows it on his offspring. He has one simple order for them: bring him Captain Marvel, broken in defeat, and maybe, just maybe, their mother will finally take Savannah back. On Earth, Billy Batson is making a report on earthquakes plaguing Fawcett City. He is suddenly approached by another version of himself, who claims to be from one day in the future. He warns Billy that Black Savannah is coming and that the wizard is in danger. Before he can talk any further, he disappears and Savannah's children attack. Billy only has one word to say: Shazam! As a fierce battle begins, Savannah remarks on how strange it is that parallel worlds are sending him messages via comic books. Working with other versions of himself, he is helping them build a bridge between worlds in exchange for energy to create an extra day in time where Savannah can finally get what he deserves. With his counterparts from across the universe, they will rule over creation like gods. Wizard begs Savannah not to do this, saying the magic will run out and it will result in catastrophe for the entire universe. Savannah ignores this and simply takes the wizard's staff. The elderly being remarks that only his champion, Captain Marvel, can save them now. Billy is locked in combat with Savannah's kids until Kid and Mary Marvel arrive to help. Together they capture two of the villainous Marvels when suddenly the third summons the Monster Society. This should keep them busy while Savannah finishes his plan. Fortunately, the Lieutenant Marvels arrive and reluctantly, but at the behest of the other heroes, Captain Marvel races off to confront Savannah while the others handle the monsters. Billy arrives at the new Rock of Eternity and fights his way through Savannah's robots, discovering Savannah waiting for him. Today is the day. Today, Captain Marvel dies. Savannah transforms himself, turning into Black Savannah. This powerful being knocks Billy around until our young hero has an idea: Shazam! Billy quickly finds the crystals his future self had from before and uses them to warn his past self, like he already did. Transforming back into Captain Marvel, the battle resumes, but now Marvel knows the solution. Savannah's counterparts on the other Earths are selfish and greedy just like him. They didn't send enough energy required to make a full extra day, so that day passed faster than the real one would have. Sure enough, Savannah Day ends and the mad scientist returns to normal. With the day saved, Wizard congratulates Billy, saying his champion never ceases to amaze him. Meanwhile, the others have successfully stopped the Monster Society, and thanks to the shortened Savannah Day, it's morning all over again. The group ponders multiple universes and the meaning of all this, and they take a look at Savannah's comic. SOS. To Captain Marvel, that looks like tomorrow's big adventure. On yet another world, a sociopathic version of Savannah has teamed up with a child version of himself to kill this world's heroes, all of whom are of a younger persuasion. Batman and the other heroes are mortified at the psychotic Savannah's brutal tactics, and are worried about losing more members after Steel and Wonder Woman disappeared in a mysterious cube. The Savannahs use the same cube to escape, while leaving his robots to attack Batman and the others. Our heroes are in trouble until an arrival from the cube saves their life. This visitor is an alternate version of Bruce Wayne, who Batman recognizes, and introduces himself as Dick Grayson. Bruce is shocked at this, as on his world, Dick Grayson is dead. Meanwhile, Savannah is gathering the alternate versions of himself from across the multiverse. They are suddenly attacked. The Marvels have found them. This frustrates the Savannas, as it means their lousy Earth 5 counterpart has failed and led the Marvels straight to the larger group of Savannas. They escape through a cube, but the psychotic Savanna decides to stay behind with a few others. He wants a closer look at Mary Marvel. Grayson explains some of the basics of the multiverse to this other Batman. A flaw was found in perfection, so perfection was forced to define itself in relation to this flaw. After all, before this, it simply existed. So it defined itself and called itself the Monitor Mind. It divided into the Monitor and the Anti-Monitor, two opposite forces in reality to watch over creation. The Monitor divided itself into a race of beings created to observe the flaw. And just like perfection, the flaw was split in two. One became two, and the multiverse was born. Over time, life flourished, until one man, Barry Allen, was determined to prove the existence of multiple worlds. He crossed dimensions and met Jay Garrick, a childhood hero who in his world only existed in comics. And so the multiverse was discovered, and many adventures came to pass. Then it happened. The first crisis on Infinite Earths. Worlds collapsed into one another, stories were erased or rewritten. All of reality was thrown into upheaval, and the multiverse became a single universe once more. Then time itself was nearly destroyed by Parallax, a being that possessed Hal Jordan. Reality was changed again and again, until the multiverse was born. 52 new worlds arranged in a delicate orrery. The Monitors watched and recorded all of this, disguising this history as fictional comic books on Earth 33. Then the Monitors died until only Nyx, the Super Judge, remained. And the Flash was always there, at the head of transformation of the cosmos. But one question remains. Who created this flaw? And who cast this lightning bolt of man into reality and remakes the world? Bruce Wayne doesn't take much stock in any of this, but Dick insists that these comics are a map of the multiverse. More still, they are a message, a warning of a coming invader. With little time to act, as Sivana's robots still have many in their number, Batman is able to power the cube, while Grayson tries to figure out what Sivana was looking for here. According to the comic, there are 52 worlds in something called the local multiverse. As Sivana's robots break in, the two make their escape through the cube. Unfortunately, they are both taken to different places. Grayson is held up by strange heroes on giant pets in a domed city, while Bruce finds himself in the Multiversity. They are glad to see another superhero, because right now, the House of Heroes could use all the help they could get. Back in Grayson's home, the dead heroes suddenly rise. They say only one word: empty. A voice speaks to the fallen heroes.
Get up. Reset. You have died before, and you will die many times more before I am done with you. See how my hand is empty. Empty is thy hand.
Elsewhere, the hand reaches out, with Nyx Uotan of the Gentry. In the name of he that they serve, Darkseid shall be unleashed onto creation. See how his hand is empty. Empty is his hand. What is this? How dare you disturb me here of all places? Adolf Hitler is furious at the intrusion, but the matter is urgent. The men have found a weapon from the stars. With great effort, Hitler finishes his poo and goes to investigate. It seems to be some sort of alien vessel, found by a farmer out in the Sudanland. The scientists have determined it is not of this Earth and has had one very small pilot. The baby is strong, able to resist bullets. Hitler gets a look of wonder in his eyes. This baby is their future. Hitler will forge him personally into the man of tomorrow, a man of iron, an unstoppable weapon. His name is Overman, powerful, ruthless, herald of the Nazis. The world has fallen to his might, and he rules this earth unopposed. At least until today. Overman wakes up from a terrible nightmare. He's been having the same dream lately. A broken home, his friends dead before him. It seems he's not taken well to the death of his clone, Overgirl. She was strong, and he and his compatriots miss her. At a funeral, the ceremony is suddenly brought under attack. Overman is outraged that someone would dare do this on this day, but they make no apologies for interrupting the ceremony. They are the people. They will not wait. They are Uncle Sam. In the aftermath of the attack, Overman's people meet in their satellite base, the Eagle Nest. They've faced many threats together in the past, but this seems different. Their enemies are ghosts of their shame. Leatherwing is not amused, though. The Reich has nothing to apologize for in terms of its past. But Underwater Man disagrees. The Atlantean is all too aware that he and his people were only spared because the SS believed they were the root of the Aryan race. Other groups weren't so lucky. Leatherwing is still unsympathetic, but Overman comments he can appreciate those who fight for what they believe in. Brunhilde is alarmed the rebels seem to be using technology from a parallel world. They interrogate the attacker, who seems to be kept alive by a protective suit. He only says they want to watch Overman and his people fall out of the sky. This makes the ruler of Earth uncomfortable. Part of him thinks he might actually deserve that. Brunhilde is disgusted at these words, reminding Overman that his enemies will exploit any weakness in the so-called Man of Iron. Meanwhile, Uncle Sam remains hidden away. He has struck a deal with a group called Savannah Parallel World Technologies. Though the rebels are not eager to trust Savannah, he has provided them with technology from a parallel world, as well as a super team, composed of the few survivors of the Reich's many purges, as a symbolic gesture decrying the evil ways of their Nazi rulers. Elsewhere, in an interview with Jürgen Olsen, Overman is asked about how he has expressed regret in the past concerning the ethnic and ideological purges during the Hitler era. Jürgen asks whether Overman has sympathy for the Uncle Sam movement, given his opinion. It's hard for the public to understand this rebellious behavior, after all. They live in a paradise. Life is happy and good. What's to regret? Overman remembers at one point leaving Earth for 3 years, and the horror of what he saw when he came back. All he says is that one of the terrorists has been captured, and the others will join him shortly. Nothing has changed, and this year's performance of the Ring Cycle will continue as it has for many years now. After the interview ends, Overman openly states how pleased he was by it. He likes the people seeing him tackle difficult questions. Later, Overman's companion, Lena, chastises the ruler for spending so much time mourning Overgirl. She wasn't even a real human. Lena is also concerned that her special Kryptonian dust, which preserves her youth, is running out and cannot be replaced. She is feeling despair at their relationship. Overman is an immortal alien who will just keep going and going, carrying Hitler's standard, while we all just die. At the Eagle's Nest, the terrorist has broken free. Leatherwing and Underwater Man lay injured before him. He laughs at them. His body absorbs, stores, and converts energy. He didn't survive the explosion from earlier, he was the explosion. The human bomb. At the annual Ring Cycle, Overman watches until Uncle Sam appears in the theater. This is it. They're calling out this corrupt world. They will strike it again and again and again until Overman finally falls. And they will win, because they have a mission and a goal. We want you to pay for your crimes! And then Overman stood, alone. The city of Metropolis was destroyed, and in that moment, all he wanted was an end. An end of guilt, of a loveless relationship, of a bloated, self-centered 1,000-year empire. But it would not come. The day was only beginning. His name is Ultra Comics. He's a hero who saved the world, who got edgy and tragic, conceived and manufactured with every advantage. Superhumans on Earth Prime are impossible due to unyielding laws of physics and the current level of technology. The only heroes here are those of fiction, the stuff of pen and paper. And that's what Ultra is. A cybernetic comic book powered by the Ultra Gem, imagination in solid form. You, us, we power it with our mind. We bring it life together. We are Ultra Comics. An idea so powerful it thinks it is alive. Ultra finds himself in a ruined city, suspecting this to be some kind of parallel world. This is your last chance, by the way. You can stop watching at any time. Ultra Comics has been led to a trap, you see, and you have too. Ultra Comics is worried about these words. He can kind of hear them too. But he presses on. After all, he agrees on everything you agree on. He thinks what you think. His accent is American, but it has a little bit of British, Canadian, and a dozen other dialogue inflections. He has the voice of a woman and a man, of all opinions. On this strange world, he comes across a woman surrounded by even stranger aliens, and Ultra fights them off without difficulty. The woman he saved introduces Ultra to a group, Neighborhood Guard, who have been fighting these strange aliens called drone droids. Ultra helps them out with their camp until one of them recognizes Ultra from a comic. However, Ultra becomes worried when he notices the comics are piled with a bunch of skulls. It turns out that the guard is actually composed of cannibals, and they seize Ultra. They strap him to a machine, and the Ultra King approaches. This being bites off the Ultra Gem, and our hero begins to panic. The king feasts on the gem, amused and nourished, deciding to leave the rest of Ultra for the cannibal children. With Ultra's powers, the king will be able to escape from the prison of this world, using his Ultra Box. But our hero isn't done yet. The Ultra Gem is composed of the most corrosive, explosive solvent in the universe, and the king just ate it. He keels over and quickly dies, and Ultra is victorious. But it is too late. The Ultra Box powers up. Ultra realizes he was just a sacrifice, a pawn. You gotta run. You gotta run while you still can. Do you understand? There's something here with us.
Earth Prime, there you are.
Ultra begins to panic. This is all his fault. They used him to draw these things out.
The Gentry has defeated you. The Gentry is within you. Kneel before your new master. Keep watching, stave. We're in your minds, and nothing can stop us.
Ultra, badly wounded, asks for help. He needs the cannibal kids to buy him some time. They oblige, attacking Intellectron while Ultron begins to escape. The kids aren't worried though. They believe in Ultra and demand a happy ending.
Do you know what is the Oblivion Machine?
Ultra reappears, healed, and promises everything will be okay. The trap wasn't for them, it was for Intellectron. He's been consumed by Ultra Comics, rendered into text and ink. And you know the thing about that? It's vulnerable to criticism. But the attack fails. Intellectron kills the children until only Ultra remains. Our hero flees as the massive creature chases him. This is the final crisis, a cosmic starvation. Stars blinking out from existence. It ends now. The trap has failed. The infection spreads. SOS. SOS. The attack on Multiversity continues. All Earths are called. SOS. SOS. On Earth 13, where naming binds all things to shape, divides the angel from the ape. Yet all that's measured must decay. All bars, all cages fade away. Come fiery dawn, the demon's day.
Quit! Quit now, form of man! Rise! Super Demon! Etrigan!
This is a world of the supernatural, a vampire civilization. Etrigan and his comrades have fought their way to the Magician's Cabinet, a device that allows them to travel to worlds. At the Savannah base, the Mad Vampire Doctor stands with the Blood League of Earth 43, who easily fell to Savannah's hypnotic control. They are ready to invade Earth 13 as part of Savannah's bid to create permanent twilight under his control, but they need to hurry. The Marvels are still attacking. Arriving on Earth 13, Etrigan and the other supernatural heroes are ready for them, and a battle begins. Back at the Rock of Eternity, the psychotic Savannah realizes that Earth 13 is a lost cause. But he isn't worried. That's just one less idiot Savannah to drag him down. They prepare for another target world when the Marvels arrive. The surviving Savannahs escape to Earth 18, but there, the psychotic Savannah is shot in the head by another group of heroes waiting for them. Meanwhile, heroes from all over the multiverse are pulled into the Multiversity, including Abin Sur of the Society of Superheroes, and the mech suit Batman. Dino Cop, one of the first people brought here, speaks up and offers an explanation. He tells the new arrivals of the nature of the multiverse and that right now they need them, all of them, to be at their very best. Today, they need superheroes. Multiversity system Harbinger is called upon, but the great beast of the Gentry, the Hell Machine, is devouring her mind. It is the 999th forbidden name of the third angel of despair, Hell Machine, and countless were its legion. But Batman remembers his encounter with Dick Grayson and seeks out the Wonder Woman and Steel of Dick's world. However, a robotic Hawkman sees this and announces this confirms his suspicions about those two. They led the Hell Machine here. The two suddenly remember their purpose and they are called home by their master. Empty is his hand. Hawkman's circuitry allows him to easily deduce that these two were indeed spies, watching the other heroes, and that everything that's happened, has been some sort of strange test, on a level far beyond their comprehension. This is a cosmic stress test to see how prepared the heroes were and how much they could resist corruption. For what purpose, Hawkman doesn't know, but there is hope. The comic Batman carries might just have enough information to restore Harbinger. On Earth 8, the heroes of this world, the Retaliators, and the visitors from the Multiversity are locked in battle with the mighty Super Judge. He possesses a Rubik's Cube, which is a transmitter to the rest of the multiverse, and begins to solve it. In only 17 moves, holes will open, ripping fatal wounds within time and space. Worlds shall fall, many will die. It is all over. The heroes can't touch him. Superman calls out to him, saying he's a monitor and is acting against his nature. But Nyx will not listen. The Gentry tortured him for eternity and have badly damaged his mind. Captain Carrot is decapitated, and his head is found by Nyx's old companion, Stubbs. The talking chimp explains that Nyx had a plan. He was thinking ahead of everyone, including their enemies. The Gentry wanted him to open doors, to lead them to the rest of the multiverse. And, under extreme duress, he did. But doors opened both ways. He has turned the Gentry's victory inside out. Thinking fast, the Thunderer summons a storm, empowering Aquawoman and allowing her to strike out against Nyx with a mighty blow. In the Multiversity, the Harbinger is confused, her mind still badly damaged, until Batman shows her his comic. She uploads the monitor files contained within the publication, restoring herself and beginning to fight off the demonic entities. Then came the Marvels and a mountain of weapons. The false rock of Savannah was wielded like a mighty javelin, stabbing Hell Machine and consuming its awful life. On Earth 8, Captain Carrot recovers while Stubbs explains that the comic is the key to all of this. They give them to Red Racer, who is able to read all the comics in the blink of an eye. The hero comes to an understanding about what is going on here and knows exactly what to do. This same attack is affecting all these worlds at once, but he knows the code, the master key to unlocking the cosmic cubes and traveling the worlds. SOS. SOS! As Nyx completes the cubes, the heroes are blinded by a mighty light, and an army of speedsters arrive. They strike Nyx down. Before he was corrupted, the Gentry offered Nyx a chance to choose his weapon in battle against them. He picks the heroes, all of them. The cube opens, and the Gentry emerge.
You new landlords! We make this world better for our kind to survive.
They call out to Nyx, but he has recovered, despairing at his own actions. He set Darkseid loose on the multiverse. He opened all the doors and unleashed a plague of mad scientists onto this universe, while the Gentry infected many worlds with their corruption. Superman says they need to fight back, and they have an army of superheroes at their disposal to do so. In the Multiversity, with the attack over, Harbinger regains control of her teleportation systems and begins to transport the many heroes to Earth 8. There, the speedsters of the multiverse catch up on the comics and learn what is going on. Stubbs declares that Nyx has tricked the Gentry by pretending to do what they wanted, opening the door for this. An army of heroes flood Earth 8, and together, the multiverse finally fights back. And just like that, the Gentry were finally defeated. As the dust settles, everyone wonders what they should do now. Superman and Machine Head detect a signal coming from Earth 7, where all this madness started. The team goes to the portal. The Thunderer looks on, saddened. This was his home. There were clear skies and seas, and now it is a throne of ruins.
I have concluded my assessment. I have nothing to fear from you. The end will come when I decree. The Gentry labor to complete the Oblivion machine. The final chapter of your never-ending story. My legions await. They feed and go strong on the carcass of their last victim. Multiverse 2. Empty is my hand.
The heroes are pushed back to Earth 8 and they return to the Multiversity. Superman is touched, so many answered the SOS and rose to the occasion, but this is only the beginning. They know now that the multiverse is connected intimately and an invasion is underway. So Superman proposes a volunteer army, superhero guardians capable of reacting to cosmic level threats just like this. They will recruit heroes from all 50 worlds, and they will be ready for what is to come. Though the heroes can go home now, many accept Superman's offer. Captain Carrot is excited at the idea and eager to see more of these worlds, but he can't believe Superman has time to do this and also run a nation back at his home. Superman doesn't feel like he has a choice though. The Gentry used these comics to invade the multiverse, and they know where these books came from, Earth 33. That's their next target. They will find answers together. So Superman has his team remember the name and be ready to answer to it. Operation Justice League Incarnate begins. Hello and welcome to Comic Island. My name is Arden and this is the Multiversity. Okay, wow, that was something else. As I write this review, I have been toiling with the script for days and musing on this comic for a couple of weeks now. My god, this thing is on a whole other level compared to content I typically review. And it's not like I have reviewed stuff that isn't as complex or epic as this, but it just feels very special. It's a dense, brilliant, and beautifully layered story. It's literature, plain and simple. I can't imagine reading this only once and getting all the references, themes, and ideas that these comics are filled to the brim with. It's the sort of thing that demands not criticism, but analysis. It feels beyond the typical superhero story because of it. I could write an academic paper on this thing, several actually, considering this comic from the viewpoints of philosophy, science, art, sociology, and so on. We could spend an entire video discussing some of the art and imagery in this comic, or just a video going through the map of the multiverse itself. Those are all great ideas, but not the focus of today. We're doing a review, plain and simple. Yet everything about Multiversity is big, so this review will be big as well. From the scope and scale of this thing to the long-term implications of this story, there's a lot to digest here. Though this was published in the New 52 era, almost all of it still feels in play. The Justice League Incarnate is still very much active, while the being that caused all the events of this comic is most certainly still out there. Is this the big bad threat that stole time from Earth 1? Is this something our heroes are going to have to face one day? Who knows? I genuinely don't. It sure is interesting though, and it's not even the beginning of just how much creative potential we get with this story. Between the huge range of worlds and characters we see, some of which were so cool, to the fact that we learn there may very well be more multiverses out there in the DC world, this comic broadens DC Comics while also providing an insane amount of thought-provoking content and a great, impressive story. I love the changing artists reflecting different worlds. It does wonders to shift the tone around from story to story, and so much of this comic is simply cool to look at because of it. The artists, all of them, and there's too many to go through them all individually, they all did such a great job, and if you get the deluxe edition graphic novel, you get an insane amount of extra content featuring what feels like just about every artist DC could get a hold of at the time. It's jaw-dropping, and though expensive, the graphic novel is so astoundingly good and entertaining, I really do recommend you get it for yourself. I like the graphic novels with lots of extra features, and this one's full of it, with a full map and details about the multiverse as is currently known as of that publication. My recap of the story, as always, simplified things to a degree. Content was cut, stories were truncated, there's no replacing the real deal, especially because a lot of it requires repeated readings to fully appreciate everything Grant has going for in his epic tale. But if you do that, if you invest the time in this comic and fully flesh out all the details, ideas, themes, references, and all that other stuff, the payoff is remarkable. I really feel like I conquered something almost. I dissected a piece of art fully, enjoying it and learning everything I could about it. Of course, the comic could have made it a little easier to do that. The unconventional structure of the story 9 times out of 10 works really well at subtly telling a bigger tale through unrelated but interconnected stories. That's neat, and the comic actually is really different from just about everything else ever written, but that 1 time out of 10 it does become incredibly confusing because of it. Make no mistake, this is not an entry-level comic, which is a shame because it's exactly the sort of thing that could challenge people's assumptions about comic books in general, but also specifically the often looked down upon superhero stories. Yet I can't help but feel too much multiversity would go over a new reader's head. That's not some passive-aggressive way of saying that people would be too stupid to understand this either. I'm speaking from personal experience here. This actually happened to both Joey and I. I remember when this story first came out. I had just started out on Comic Island, and both Joey and I had read the first issue of this, and independent of one another, had come to the same conclusion. Multiversity #1 was pretty good, but we weren't that excited about it, and it was confusing and complicated. We just didn't think it would make a good issue to review, and it just didn't appeal to either of us all that much. The problem is that this first issue is all set up, and even then it only starts to get good once you've read it a couple of times and start to understand what it's saying. Even then, it really only doesn't start to pay off until we start getting rolling with the subsequent issues. The fact of the matter is, it takes a while to get into this thing, and on first glance, I simply didn't. Yet, when I came back to it to make this video, turns out it's one of the greatest comics I've ever read. But it's also one of the most frustrating for this reason. It requires a lot of time and patience, careful scrutiny. Many major plot points and themes are only implied, so you have to fill in the blanks for yourself. You have to be an active thinking reader, flipping back and forth in the story, seeing how certain hints and connections between the stories are woven in, and getting a full understanding of what happens here. Nowhere is this more apparent than in the story In Which We Burn, which I think, on balance, might somehow be both my favorite and least favorite of these stories. It's really weird, telling the story almost completely backwards, implying stuff and leaving a ton of things ambiguous. I read this thing over like 10 times, and even after reading an explanation of it all online, I'm still a little confused by it. I think I get it, but I'm also confident In Which We Burn is far more confusing than it needs to be. I applaud its ambition, and I understand that we don't get many answers because we're not supposed to, but even if you take this part of the story apart and analyze every ongoing plot thread, there's still a ton of stuff that makes no sense. Yet I still somehow like this thing, in part because the art is amazing. That scene with the dog is creepy as hell, and there are a lot of great panels throughout this comic, and the story itself is quite thought-provoking. I can't help but admire deliberately structuring this story in a way that's almost incomprehensible. I like how it uses characters that the Watchmen characters were inspired by to tell a story that was clearly inspired by the Watchmen story. There's something weirdly circular about that which fits the structure of this comic nicely and the overall tone and themes of it. And I think that even though it's confusing, it's also very thought-provoking and different. I feel creative muscles flexing themselves in my head that aren't stimulated this way nearly enough, and that is exhilarating. I also like how this comic is genuinely scary at times too. I mentioned how creepy that dog scene is, but so are most of the scenes with the Gentry. Everything in Ultra Comics, and perhaps most frightening of all, the Just. That story is so unsettling it's still eating away at me. I love it though. It starts out neat, and we think we're just seeing a Gen 2 of Primar's superheroes. But little by little, we realize that this is pretty much the worst world in all of Multiversity. It's stagnant. The people have no challenge or anything to do. They are protected and coddled, so all they feel is vacancy. Like part of them is checked out mentally. Our main characters are caught up in recreating old stories or obsessing over their social status in the next big party. Out of all the worlds, I find this most disturbing. And that somehow includes the Nazi world, which, by the way, how cool was that? Not only do they make Superman a Nazi, but they managed to do it in a way that's about as imaginative and sincere as Red Sun. They even made Nazi Superman a sympathetic character of sorts, and it all feels rather earned and inoffensive, which is an incredible feat for a writer given the subject matter. Also, look at how good Jim Lee's art is, it's boggling! This comic is amazing. It has brilliant commentary on the state of modern comics too, by weaving the comics themselves into the story and using it as a huge plot point throughout the entire thing. It's also smart. Every comic that we read is present in every other world except for the one that it's taking place in, implying that our world, and you, the reader, are a direct and present entity in this story, connected by you as a person being an active reader who exists as a point of reference in the story itself. You're the guy in the one world that sees all the other worlds through only the comics itself. The only world that's not involved directly in these events. Kind of. Ultra Comics is supposed to be our world, but he goes, don't worry about it. It's brilliant, plain and simple. It's a very Grant Morrison writing thing, to be sure, but man, that's one of the smartest ideas I've ever stumbled upon in a comic. It's the sort of thing that explains why some people are such big fans of Grant Morrison, because, geez, this guy can write. I will contend with you that it is certainly possible other writers out there might have had more imaginative ideas, or perhaps they could put together a more sophisticated or clever story. Certainly there are better writers out there who could have structured this thing a little more clearly. But I believe, truly, in my heart of hearts, no writer in this world, past, present, or future, will ever be able to write a story this clever, creative, and also featuring images of Hitler pooping. And that is glorious, a wonderful thing that nobody will ever be able to take from Grant Morrison. The Multiversity is flawed. It has some rough edges and stupid moments. Certain ideas are explored to death, while others aren't covered with nearly as much detail as they deserve. Some of the plot points and elements of the story are incredibly unclear and not properly explained. And this comic is so far up its own ass, I swear that some pages are just Grant Morrison explaining how clever he really is, and admittingly, doing a pretty convincing job of it while doing so. But these flaws don't matter, not in the least, because I've spent the last 10 minutes talking about these ideas and concepts in this comic, and I haven't even had a chance to touch on what this comic has to say about postmodernism, or the socio-political ideas and implications of various parts of this story. Writing this review, I'm reminded of something Yahtzee Croshaw said in his review of Bioshock Infinite some years ago. If it isn't boring and it gives us something to talk about, then it can't be bad. And Infinite isn't bad, it's good, perhaps even great. You see, sometimes it's kinda nice to be up somebody's butt if it's cozy and warm, and they've put some interesting conversation pieces up there. And that's pretty much exactly how I feel about Multiversity. This comic indeed has its head up its own butt, and sometimes its head is so far up there it hardly feels like there's any room for us as the reader. But it gives us something to talk about, and there's a lot of interesting stuff to see and ponder, so it most certainly is worth the ride. Thus, we've finally come to the end of this review and what will no doubt be a massive video and undertaking on my part. It will all be worth it if to simply spread the word about this story a little more, and give it some life through sound effects and narration. Plus, it gives us a fun place to talk about how great it is in the comments. Or at least that's the goal. Maybe you disagree. Let me know what you think of this story in the comment section below. I do also want to take a moment to thank Patreon supporter Jeremy Renfo. This was our first prioritized request, and man did Jeremy pick a cool story. I hope he enjoyed it, and all of you as well, because I certainly enjoyed making it. This was an inspiring comic to read, and I'm glad I was encouraged into doing so. But I nearly missed out on it simply because I judged it too early based on its first issue. It's a lesson in giving things a chance and letting them win you over, in fully understanding a story before judging it, but also sometimes giving something a second look. I've done this before, going back to stories other people love that for whatever reason didn't leave an impact on me the first time around, and sometimes that pays off in incredible ways. A second chance sometimes is what a story needs. It might reveal something you never knew was there in the first place, and there's a certain romantic notion to it. How we can pass by something and not see how beautiful it is, only to one day truly look at it and realize the majesty that it offers. It's important we don't forget that. It's important that we take some time to really enjoy the great things in life, and I feel Multiversity is one of them. If you want to try and blow my mind like Jeremy just did, you should check out our Patreon page. I have literally hundreds of requested videos, but donors can make high-level requests that are guaranteed to be made quickly before other videos. You can find the link to our Patreon in the video description below. Thanks for watching this video, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep reading comics.